Welcome. We're here to talk a little bit about Michigan Tech's Essential Education program. And before we do that, I want to back up and talk about general education as a whole. As new students, you're probably really anxious to dive into your majors and get into those specialized classes that you're really interested in. And sometimes students feel like, oh, general education, what is this? This is like a side quest or an extra thing that I'm being asked to do. But we think that general education is really important. And there is a reason that it is required at all colleges and universities in the US. So, Travis and I are going to talk a little bit about why we think general education is actually the secret sauce that's going to make your unique Michigan Tech degree even better.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. I think we realize that the world is very complex and that really those problems don't neatly kind of fit into a particular category. I think we can see for students, you could be a brilliant engineer and make a really cool advice, but potentially you didn't think about the ethical implications of that and also the need to communicate to a non-technical audience as well. So I think although those engineering skills are really vital, that they won't solve everything. And we need kind of our students to be this well-rounded individual in order to tackle these kind of wicked, complex problems.
Absolutely. And I think this is true regardless of your major, right? So we know also that even though you're interested in one particular thing, psychology, social sciences, computing, I've talked to a lot of you at admissions events. You're also into music, or you also want to read literature, or you watch films and you're interested in that. So general education is actually the place where you get to explore those other interests in a little bit more depth and really, be your whole self when you're at
Yeah.
school. So I think we want to invite you to see this as an opportunity to make some choices and have some flexibility that you might not have within your major, and just enjoy that, appreciate that opportunity. Essential Education at Michigan Tech is our own specific branded general education program. And we've really designed this because we think that this is going to help our students make the most of their degrees. And it's all built around the 12 essential abilities. So that's what we're going to kind of talk through now. What are those essential abilities? These are the things that we think are going to make you successful academically, personally, and professionally. They cut across the different disciplines. And so you're going to see them all throughout the curriculum. I want to think about the first part of our essential abilities, which is think critically. This is really all throughout the curriculum. One of the places that you're going to see this is evaluate information. So right away, you're going to take a composition class that's going to have you looking at how do I find secondary sources that support my argument and are going to be convincing for my audience. But you're also going to be looking at that, in other areas as well, right? When I'm writing a scientific paper, I have to understand what people have done before, and I got to know who's going to be the most reliable sources of that information that will be persuasive to my audience.
Yeah, and you're also going to have to question a lot of different assumptions throughout your courses. So you may be sitting in your physics class and having to predict an outcome of a particular scenario, and that really kind of forces you to maybe question the way that these fundamental forces actually work to gain better understanding.
Mhm.
And then also throughout many of your courses, you're going to be asked to analyze different ethical implications. I always think back to some of my favorite movies, Maria, with Jurassic Park, and that kind of famous quote that they were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't really ask the question if they should. And we want to make sure that we ask that question of our students.
Yeah, for sure. The next section is communication, and we know this is really important. This is like one of the number one things employers will talk
Mhm.
about. They're looking for those communication skills, but we've actually broken that down a little bit. So one of the things is communicate contextually. So learning how to give the right information in the right style and the right format for the right audience. So you're not always writing an academic paper. Sometimes you're writing something to persuade. Sometimes you're using visual communication. We want to work on those skills so that you're able to kind of be flexible in your communication and effective.
Yeah. We also want students to be able to communicate quantitatively as well, to be able to interpret data sets, to be able to look at statistics and kind of understand exactly what that means, both for themselves, but also communicating out to a wide variety of audiences.
And then, of course, we talked a lot already about foster collaboration. And I mean, it's just a reality, right? Whether it's on campus or in the future in your work world, you're going to be working with other people. That's how we get things done. And so being able to make sure everybody's contributing, really call out the best in other people and move a project forward together is such a great skill. And we're going to work on that in a lot of your classes.
Yeah. I also think adapting is really critical, especially with our fast-paced world where technology is always advancing and things are always kind of changing as well. So, as part of that, we want our students to be able to explore diverse perspectives, to be able to recognize that it's important to be aware of our own social, cultural backgrounds, but also with others and kind of bridging that gap. And I think there's a lot of opportunities here on campus through different events to facilitate that.
Yeah, that's a great point. This is happening in class and out of class, right?
Yes.
So another piece of adapt is to be able to reflect. And we're going to build reflection all throughout the Essential Ed curriculum. We're going to be asking you, after you've done something or learned something, to stop. What did I learn? How does that impact me? How does that apply to other situations? What am I going to take forward from this? And this is really where the learning
Mhm.
happens. And so we want to give you lots of practice with that. Again, it's going to help you to be successful. The folks in industry talk a lot about being able to stop and do that evaluation midstream or at the end of a project and know how to move forward with it. Those are reflection habits that we're going to build in. The last one about adapt that I love is welcome challenge. I think this is so important because this is where learning happens. Learning happens when you're a little uncomfortable
Mhm.
and you maybe, kind of in the unknown a little bit and you work through that and that's where you get to the next stage. And so we want to build in welcome challenge with some support,
Yeah.
right? We want to build in support and be able to give you opportunities to try new things in a collaborative and safe environment. So in all of your classes, but for each person, I think welcome challenge is a little different. For some of us it's math, for some of us it's writing.
Yeah. I don't think we ever stop welcoming challenges. We
Yes,
continue throughout.
that's right. That's
Oh,
right.
and then finally, we want you to be able to take everything you've learned here at Michigan Tech and really apply that to the world. So we want you to be able to innovate some really cool solutions, to bring that creativity to solve those problems around the world.
And we want you to engage in civic life. So this is, we want your Michigan Tech education to help you be a better citizen in your local community, in the global community, contributing in ways that really make our communities better.
Yeah. And then finally, I think Michigan Tech is really well known for our hands-on experiences. And we want you to take all of that experience, that knowledge, skill set, and use it to create. And I think one of the best showcases of all the things that our students are able to create is the Undergraduate Research and Scholarship Symposium at the end of the
Hmm.
year.
It's a great example. So we want you to be on the lookout for these essential abilities all through your time at Michigan Tech. Be thinking about how you're growing them in yourself, what your different classes are helping you to learn, and when you come out on the other end, be able to talk about how you've accomplished these abilities.